Welcome back to this special edition of Hey Kentucky. We are joined by Lexington Mayor Linda Gordon, Police Chief Lawrence Weathers, Adrian Wallace with the NAACP, and Reverend Clark Williams with the People's Campaign. One thing I want all of you to kind of speak on, something that's been brought up, is defunding the police or even disbanding the police and going toward a more community-oriented policing system. I want to start with you, Chief Weathers. What is your take on that?
I think there's probably some misunderstanding when people talk about defunding. I think what they're probably really talking about is redistributing. Here's one thing I've learned being a police officer for 31 years. You can't be successful at this job by just writing citations and taking people to jail. That's not what we do. Sometimes we come in contact with people that have issues or are distressed in so many different ways. What people ought to be focusing on is, what do you really want your police to do? Just because we're not trained social workers or anything like that doesn't mean we can't direct people to that. And we're out there 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. Maybe that's what you should be doing. You know, when you talk about defunding, is maybe you ought to talk about re-emphasizing some of the things that we're supposed to do. We have neighborhood resource officers, and those neighborhood resource officers don't just focus on crime, they focus on quality of life issues in the neighborhood too. You know, if people don't have enough to eat, if somebody needs information on where to get certain healthcare assistance, those officers help them with that. And even if they need daycare, those officers help them find that. They can connect them to those resources. I don't know if you'd be able to put a system in place with other people to be out there 24 hours a day when you already have that. And we look at doing things like that. When it comes to mental health, you know, we work closely with the fire department. We have the fire department has a paramedicine unit, and we've actually assigned a full-time officer there. So there are some people that suffer from mental health conditions that don't really need to go to jail. They need other kinds of assistance. So when we get somebody in that situation who's committed a criminal act, we notify our person assigned to the fire department's paramedicine unit, and they help find resources to help that person so they don't end up in a situation where they're committing criminal acts.
I want to get to you on this real quick, Mayor, because we're going to be under serious budget constraints anyways because of COVID-19. Is there going to be a push to take whatever funding we can get and move it into some sectors like housing, like education, like mental health?
Well, it's interesting. When I first heard the term defund the police, I thought what I was hearing was take all the money away from police and do something else with it. And I think there's different thinking out there about what it means. So most recently, I've heard what you have just said, Mary Jo, is take some money from police and put it to other things. We currently have a pretty healthy, within our budget, a healthy social services network. We have resources and a focus on a director of aging services. We have family and youth services. We have senior services. We have all kinds of social services spending in the millions of dollars, quite literally. And we are getting money for housing, sheltering, and that sort of thing. We have that in our budget. So I want to go back to something that the chief said, because our community for many, many years has had community policing. He mentioned our neighborhood resource officers. We've had that in one way or another for a long time, and it's been very effective. And one of the programs I think that we just initiated last year was the safety net, where our officers actually go with a street outreach person and with a social worker, and they go directly to someone's house, someone who has in one way or another experienced violence. and they say, what do you need? We have resources we can connect you with, because we don't want your path in the future to be one of violence. And they have already had successes with that. And so I almost, I can't prove it on paper, but I think in Lexington, we've had these kind of initiatives for long enough that we're sort of on the leading edge of this in a lot of ways. So we know we can always be better. And we can always say, what is it we need that's different than what we don't have right now?
I'm going to ask that
I
question of what we need and what's different coming up right after the break.
Oh, okay.
Sorry. Stay with us. We'll be right back.